Hi guys, Kira here, Anarchy Acres Farmstead, Harley too, and Miss Bridget. Of course Bridget's here. Yeah, she's always everywhere we go. So one thing about our channel that I always want to do is be very transparent and very truthful, because that way we can have learning moments together. Can you stop wrestling? We want to have learning moments together. So on Monday, I posted a video about our buck, Plutus. Plutus was a yearling buck, and he was by one of our goats, Persephone, that we lost last year. Actually, we lost her when she gave birth to him. She had a uterine tear, and she had an internal bleed, and we lost her. We also lost his twin due to like a freak. I don't know what happened. Like within 2 hours, he was fine, and then he passed away. But that was when he was very, very little. So I posted about Plutus being constipated. We treat him with mineral oil, and I gave him a beer, and that all seemed to be going well. Except he didn't lose any of the constipation, and he still was nibbling at hay and everything, so that was fine. But we monitor real closely, and then we noticed that he stopped eating and had some discomfort. So at that point, of course, you call the vet. And we called the vet in the morning, and they got back with us at lunchtime, said bring him in. We were treating constipation, which he was constipated. But goats are, even as the vet said, very good at hiding things. And he had a secondary issue going on, which was actually probably more of the primary issue, which was kidney stones. Now, I had a long, in-depth conversation with our vet, and I will tell you about that. But what ultimately happened was the kidney stones caused a blockage, and his bladder ruptured. And unfortunately, we had to euthanize Plutus. Well, the vet euthanized Plutus, rather. So we had a long, in-depth conversation because we've never dealt with kidney stones. And although I know that that is a common thing that some people do deal with male goats, we've never had that issue, and we've had goats for a very long time. So what the problem is kidney stones is usually prevalent in weathered goats. For those of you that don't know, a weathered goat is essentially a neutered male goat. They no longer have their breeding organs. Plutus was intact, so he had his breeding material, his equipment. So the vet was pretty perplexed. But when we discussed it more in depth, we actually came to kind of a conclusion. So what happens when you weather a goat, and usually you do that when a goat is young, still just a baby more or less, because you don't want them to get any of those undesirable buck traits if you are going to keep them as a pet. So they're weathered very young, and what happens when they're weathered young is they don't produce a lot of testosterone. When they don't produce a lot of testosterone, their urethra stays extremely small. And if you feed a male goat grain, they will produce urinary calculi, which is like calcium deposits, basically a kidney stone. What happens with the weathered goats is because their urethra is very small, they're unable to pass them regularly. This is why it doesn't happen as often, not saying it can't happen, but it doesn't happen as often with bucks because their urethra is larger because of the testosterone, therefore the flow is there, okay, and they can pass them. So we feed our goats a very small amount of grain, and we're mostly a forage forward. We call ourselves a forage forward, words are hard, diet here, but we do a small amount of grain, basically just to fill in those missing pieces of their nutrition to make sure they get what they need. And Plutus often would get pushed out of the food even, so he didn't eat very much grain. So the vet was even more perplexed at that. But Plutus was a yearling buck, and he was in with 5 females, and he never displayed Bucky behavior. For those of you that know, you know, and for those of you that don't, bucks will make funny noises, they will chase around the girls, and they will pee on themselves to give them that nice cologne that the girls love so much. He never displayed any of that, and actually he was with a couple girls for quite some, since he was a baby, and none of them have turned up pregnant that we know of. I mean, unless something happened in the last month or so. None of them ever ended up pregnant. So the vet, and also Plutus was a fainter, which his mom was not a fainter. His father's not a fainter. Although the fainting goats were part of the breeder's herd where we got them from, she said that he was not, none of the parents were fainters. And none of them ever displayed the fainting characteristic. So he came out as a fainting goat. He had no Bucky tendencies, and the vet basically said she felt that he was a fluke, that he had very low testosterone levels, and that's what caused him to have this secondary, which ultimately ended up being the primary source of his demise, which was the bladder stones or kidney stones. She did tell me that had his bladder not ruptured, we could have done a surgery. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of that, but there is a surgery that can be done. If you're interested to know what that surgery is, you can feel free to comment or send me an email, and I can go over that with you. There is a surgery. She didn't really tell me the effectiveness of that surgery, although she did say that, you know, if caught early enough, that it can be successful. The fact of the matter is, when a goat eventually goes down, they've usually been struggling silently and you just don't know about it. They're really, really good at hiding things, and we were treating the symptoms that he had appropriately. Even the vet, you know, said that, you know, that's what she would have treated because of his outward symptoms, but it was that secondary symptom that wasn't recognizable enough to be, you know, something of concern. But ultimately, like I said before, I want this channel to be very transparent, even through our losses and our very difficult times. I want to be able to share that with you guys because I want you guys to learn with us, because we certainly don't know everything. And it's vital to have a really great working relationship with your vet. My vet got me in within hours of a phone call. My vet is extremely wonderful. If I need a medication, they will just let me come and get it. So, you know, I'm very fortunate to have such wonderful people in our lives for this farm. But yeah, unfortunately, it just crept up so fast that there was just nothing that could be done. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. Updates like this are difficult because you want to be able to share the positive, the happy endings, the fairy tales. But the very real fact on a farm is that that's not always the case.
Bridget!
And so here I'm sitting with our lovely goat herd and missing our boy Plutus very much tonight. Yeah, he was always one for snuggles and cuddles, and he was a sweet, sweet boy. But we will miss him very, very much. But hopefully through his passing, we can help somebody else, you know, help somebody else hopefully know what to look for and understand the process. Again, this is something that if you have a weathered goat, you're going to be more concerned with. And in fact, if you have a weathered goat, I would say feed forage only, period, because that's all they really need. But yeah, I hope that this is a helpful video. If you have questions on this topic, please leave them below. If I don't have the answer, I will do my best to find the answer. But yeah, this is a learning moment, and unfortunately we have those, especially the more animals that you own and that you're a steward of, the more times things like this unfortunately happen, and it's devastating. And a lot of times people don't see that side of farming, the sad parts, you know, they just think that we just mass produce animals for our own gain, and that's simply not the case. So I'm gonna get off here. It's been a long day, and we're gonna go to the house, and we are...
Play Fortnite.
I gotta play some video games with the kiddos. I hope you guys have a great night. I hope this video finds you well, and I hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, please comment them down below. Also, if you think this content might help somebody else, please share it. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm putting myself out there. Share these videos, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it, because we're all here to learn together. And if I can help just one person, then I've done something with myself positive. So I hope you guys have a great night. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.